Good evening and welcome to the Mermaid. This part of the canyon was part of Sylvia Park, and that was started in 1924, which means this development is more than 100 years old. The building we're in tonight was the clubhouse for this development, and it's had many iterations with many illustrious characters as owners, including the present owner, Bill Buerge. It's always a delight to come up here for events. Bill is very generous. He hosts Butterfly Day up here. He has many historical society meetings. He has many memorials. He has weddings. He's been a huge addition to the canyon, so we really appreciate Bill. And without further ado, here's the man himself.
Thank you, Ed. Am I loud enough for everybody? Okay. Gail, did you want something? Okay. All right. So let's see here. Thank you, everybody, for coming. The potluck was just amazing. You never know what you're going to get. It's always different. I love it. You guys really kicked ass with the food. Thank you. So we're going to start here. Okay. Darius, behind me here is my next door neighbor. He's really been helping me. I just got this big screen here the other day, and I couldn't do this without him. Thank you, Darius. Yay. So, okay, I knew this building was here. I saw it 40-some years ago, but it came up for sale. I was like blown away. I had been through a lot of houses, but this really caught my fancy, and I really, really wanted this place. But it was just in such bad condition. Whoops. Okay, over here? Yeah. This is the ad. Rare opportunities for this sophisticated buyer, not for the timid. It had a price of $675,000. That was high market then. And I got it for $650,000. Under the bottom of the palm tree to the right, you see where the palm tree has been all burnt, is Calico, the goat I bought. When I made my offer, I wanted the goat and I wanted there's Calico, and I wanted the range. So I got both of them. That range is still in there to this day. We use the hell out of that range. This is what it looked like, predominantly beige with chain link fences everywhere. That's my car. There's the back at the front, and I applied tar, black tar, roofing tar. It was leaking so bad. Everything leaked in here. When it would rain, it would leak.
It used to leak in that corner in the 70s.
You'll see some pictures of that corner in a minute. We took pictures of the front of it. The real estate agent, Melissa Oliver, bought in a truckload of plants. We made this place look incredible for the bank. In order to get the loan. This was the entry back then. This was during escrow, the entry. At least half the plaster had fallen off. And they had paintings all around the room. They were living in here. That's the corner over there. You just had nothing you could save. It was totally rotted out. The whole side over there was sinking into the mud. Didn't really have an adequate foundation. But I could see the potential of this place. You know, it really had great bones, as they say. There it is in the corner. There was holes in the floor, just rotted out. They had feral cats in the basement. And when I moved in, there was literally bats flying around here at night. And there's that corner again. This is the floor. All the floorboards had shrunk. So we moved all of those and decided to keep the floor and refurbish the existing floor. This is a great old Monterey table. The only piece of furniture I have from the country club days. It's right over there. Had a carpenter rebuild it, took it all apart. So this thing is like very collectible. It's got the horseshoe on it. This whole place was filled with dozens upon dozens of these pieces of furniture. The sellers lived in the dining room, All the plaster had pretty much fallen off the walls. This was the kitchen. That was the top of the stove. And they had some really creepy puppets up in the attic. Up there was an attic before I made the staircase. There was really no staircase to get upstairs. So I created that staircase, but there used to be this attic up there. There was a place up there where they had a follow light, for drag queen shows. When it was a gay nightclub, we'll talk about that later. Lots of urinals everywhere. We kept digging them up. It was a gay nightclub, and this was the only shower they had. It was down in the basement. Those tendrils you see are eucalyptus roots growing from the trees like 50 feet away. Here's Calico.
What happened to the goat?
I'll tell you later. There was some Gary Schmerels around from the Canning Club, gay nightclub days. Bedroom, a little before, a little after. Hired a aerial survey company. It was the best way to get a relatively cost-effective survey of this big place rather than having guys go around and do it all by hand. So I knew I would need a topography. So I did that. Day escrow closed. There was horse manure in the house. The animals were taking this place over. And I drywalled some areas over here just so I had a place to live, and made very detailed measured drawings, floor plans. These are elevations. And people started bringing stuff over. And I could not, a country club, this place, my mind was blown. And I learned that it was the Sylvia Park Country Club, and then it was Rancho Topanga, also Rancho Topango. It was one of Mickey Cohen's gambling houses in LA. It was the Bay City's country club for just a few years. The Canyon Club, gay nightclub in the 50s and 60s into the 70s. The Mermaid Tavern and the Mountain Mermaid. It was all these things. The architect I learned hired a house attorney, David Cameron, that did, on the side, he did house histories. I had hired him to do the research on this house. And he kept coming back with all this incredible research. This was the architect was Charles Edward Finkenbinder, and this was probably his drawing or somebody in his firm. This is from a story Suzanne Gudeman wrote for the newspaper, The Fantasy of Sylvia Park, built in 1936, years after the first lots in the Sylvia Park development were offered for sale. The Sylvia Park Country Club, now the Mountain Mermaid, was built to entice buyers to invest in the new subdivision carved out of Topanga farmland and wild back country. It remains a monument to the unbridled optimism and creative advertising that fueled the California real estate boom of the 1920s. This grand architectural showpiece must have been a supremely incongruous among the small summer cabins that occupied the rest of the development. But this was the great area of boosterism, over-the-top real estate promotion, and fantasy architecture. And the development had it all. So here's a lot of information in this newspaper. Clubhouse contract awarded to a man named Chester. He was a contractor. We know the budget for the whole club, the land and everything. It says in here $75,000. The club was built for $10,100 in like 3 months. They started in the spring and they ended in September. This is kind of a fuzzy picture, but I wanted to show you this because this was right down the street from where I grew up in the Palisades. It was called the Wee Boys Lodge back in 1927, but it was, when I was growing up, it was called the Aldersgate Retreat Center, Methodist property. And I fell in love with this place. I fell in love with places. And I ended up restoring this place and building a chapel next door to it. That was going on before I got the country club and during. So I wanted to show you that because, just to give you some context, that was the Palisades. Yeah?
Did it survive the fire?
What's that?
Did it survive the fire?
I'll talk about that in a minute.
That's what I was going to ask.
And here's my elementary school. So the whole country was totally in love with Spanish architecture. There was this really famous book, Ramona, about you know, a love story with an Indian and a white person, and it just captured the imagination of the whole country. And architecture all over the country was being built. Spanish, you know this building? In the Spanish vernacular, Thomatods Inn, built in 1928. Aldersgate was actually moved to the Palisades in 1927. My elementary school was 27. The Bel Air Bay Club was 27, 28. Incredible amount of stuff going on in the 20s. And then when the Depression hit, it all stopped. Nothing happened in the 1930s. Do you know this place? Anybody? It is. It's Mar-a-Lago. Trump's place. So, official opening 1927. It was all over the country. Happiness, a Golaberry, come up to the Sylvia Park Country Club for happiness. You could buy a lot for $150. This is what Topanga looked like back in 1915. This is Cheney Canyon, where we are right now, before it was subdivided. And what the developers did was mint. You may have heard this story before. It's a famous story. You bring this coin up to, they scattered them around. You get a free lot. You bring it up to the country, get a free lot. But you couldn't build on it. It was up on a hill. And they tried to sell you one on the street. So it was a bait and switch, exactly what it was. Free of encumbrance, subject to your payment of our miscellaneous expenses. You know, this later on was made illegal, but at that time it was one of the ways that they were selling these lots, cabin sites. They subdivided the surrounding acreage to thousands of mostly 20 by 50 foot.
I just want to get a little more gain before the feedback we're having.
Okay, so another thing that they did to stimulate the sales were not great, is they literally built an oil derrick down the street. And this is a picture of it. They did not strike oil. It became a water company. They struck water. And this is a sales piece. It's not a newspaper, but it looks just like a newspaper, doesn't it? They hired people to put this together and write stories. But if you look at the address of the Topanga Canyon News, it's exactly the same address downtown of the developers. And this was a map they put together of all the oil finds. Oil was big in the 20s in Southern California, converged right at Sylvia Park, right there in the middle. And the developers, Samuel and Irving Goldman, here they are in this illustration, shaking the land, and the oil is running down, and all the people underneath are holding up their hats and getting money and getting rich. Yeah. The water company was called the Sylvia Park Mutual Water and Services Company. When I got here, there was maybe 13 houses that were still on it, pipes going all over this place. But the county shut it down. This is something that we got about the Chester, W. Chester was the contractor anyway. So I was lucky to come upon this brochure that actually it was done in like 1935 or something. Here's all the things: riding trails, post office, public school, tennis court, ping pong, sunbathing, on and on and on. Checkers, yeah. And this, isn't this amazing to get this kind of thing? I didn't have the benefit of having this, all these pictures, early on. It was after I had done most of the work. All the different rooms out in the front. This was called the lounge. They hung up. This is full of this Monterey furniture. You're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Monterey furniture today. It was actually distributed by Barker Brothers back then. It was this kind of rip-off Spanish cheesy thing back, but it was the rage. And then it fell into disfavor. Probably all this was just given away. This is what we're in right now, facing the same way. We're actually facing the same way as we are right now. And this was a ladies' parlor, which is right now, we call it the glass suite over there. And this is the dining room over here, full of dining room furniture. And the pool and card room, which is over there in that corner, is a bedroom now. There's a room for the guys. Bungalows were built around to give people a an idea of what they could do with their property. And Claire, this is Claire Brown's property. Are you still here, Claire? Yes. Yeah. So this was a certificate of membership. They had a tennis court. This was on your property, I'm quite sure, Claire. Badminton. The swimming pool is down in the back here, built in 1940. Somebody gave me these pictures, people hanging around the pool out in front, swinging. This is the ladies' lounge again, letter of pioneer membership. And then it evolved into Rancho Topanga. It went into, I'm not exactly quite sure, I think they actually changed, I think the developers actually changed the name from the Sylvia Park Country Club to Rancho Topanga. It was called both the Sylvia Park Country Club and Rancho Topango before and after the 40s. In the newspaper stories that I read, property in search of an identity. Okay, went bankrupt here, and they ended up auctioning this property off, all the surrounding land, all the things inside, all the furniture on the front porch out here. And I have a story, I couldn't find that clipping, or I would have included it. Rancho Topanga, from the late 30s and into the 40s. If you look at the masthead, it was also called Rancho Topango. Now here's Mr. Goldman, the developer's signature, and I think this is, so he was started in the 1930, he was still involved at 1940, and ultimately it was sold off to a guy named Ken Walker. I've met his granddaughter, she's been up here, she's stayed over, she's an artist down in San Diego, and he physically, Ken Walker, helped dig out underneath in the basement level for Mickey Cohen to put in slot machines and gaming tables. So I got that from the, I've talked to all of the families, one way or the other. Rancho Topango Country Club, dancing. There's another picture inside the fireplace. Mickey Cohen was here. This is one of his LA gambling houses. The way he would get in there was through this door that we discovered. It was in the ladies' bathroom. So you'd actually, when you came out here, go through the ladies' bathroom. There was a curtain over this, through this door. And you had prostitutes over there at Claire's place. And here's, from the gambling house to the big house, Mickey Cohen. Sylvia Park to be reopened Saturday. Okay, and then it changed hands. 1949 became the Beach Hills Country Club, like for just a few years, and don't have too much about that, except Kevin, are you here? His dad comes up now and then, and I have to thank Pablo Capra. He found hundreds of newspaper clippings, and this was one of many that talked about Kenny Doppner. He's quite a bridge player, and that was your dad. And he was very active in the society earlier on, and then he passed on. Miss him very much. This is the kitchen stove from 1952. The Canyon Club days, clandestine gay nightclub owned by former Vice Cop Phil Ewing, and who knew you can see he took all the tile off the roof through it probably leaked, but he didn't try to save. If it was me, I probably would have tried to use the tile again. But he built structures all the way around the front to increase the square footage. I think this one over here on the side closest to us.
So was this Phil Ewing any relation to Shorty?
No, Shorty lived down the street. Phil Ewing, here he put an ad or a goodwill wishes into the newspaper, saying carloads of good wishes. This is during Christmas, 1965. Here's a word of appreciation from the First Baptist Church of Topanga that Phil Ewing let them use their gay bar on Sundays. I think maybe being gay was everybody was so in the closet. I've talked to a guy that used to live here. He said, he was not live here, but come here. And he said, if we were discovered as, being homosexual, our career was over instantly, forever, done. And so I think Phil was kind of trying to, stay on the good side of the community. I heard that the Chamber of Commerce wouldn't let them join because, there was skinny dipping going on in the pool. And Santa Ynez Fire, November 8th, 1961. David Shapiro, I think this might have been the fire that affected you. Sound right, David, 1961? Okay, but here's some dates of the fires when they started. Well, I was here at the 93 fire. It started here in Old Candy. We were shooting a film in here. It went to the ocean. It was a devastating fire. That was November 2. The Woolsey fire was November 8. Santa Ynez fire, November 8. Topanga fire, 1938, November 14.
You're missing the fire of 1970.
Also 73.
There's a lot of fires. But these fires, in any event, started within just like a 6-week period. The last, or actually a 3-week period. The last week in October and the first 2 weeks in November. And unfortunately, we're right in the middle of that right now. So,
Did the Mermaid burn in any of those fires?
nope, we did okay.
That 78 fire, there were 3 houses burned on the Callon.
Yep, and I think on,
78.
How many?
3 or 4.
now here's Sylvia Park, lost 7 homes in 1961. OIM, thank you. Thanks, guys. Okay, and then the county tried to shut the gay club down. The judge threw it out. The owner argued that it was actually a swim club and that the fact that there was men dancing was just incidental, and so the judge threw it out. Judge Merrick, maybe some of you remember him. I know. He was there forever. This was, the Canyon Club. Then, this is the people I bought it from. Mickey and Ann Nadell celebrated a concert called the Mermaid Tavern, 72 to 76. Very, very arty people. Here's Mickey. He was a double bassist with the LA Phil. He had all his buddies come over and they started playing on the weekends. And then it became a weekend thing. And then ultimately they had 200 people in here every weekend. Stage over there in that corner. Ann Nadell was famous for her oxtail soup, and a lot of stories in the LA Times. This is their son, Ben, died in a mountain climbing accident, and some reviews, their concert schedule, and they gave me grocery bags full of all these brochures from the different events. This is an erotic art show that they did. The pictures of their family. Anne was into weaving. She had a big loom over there when I was in escrow.
Is Ellen still around?
Ellen, her daughter, I haven't talked to her for 10 years. And Ellen was going to talk to our group 10 years ago, but she came back here and she had such a bad feeling about the whole, she just went home. She had a tough time here. Actor Yogi, Mermaid Tavern, next door neighbor, Kedrick Wolf.
He lived down the block,
Right down the hill.
the little house that was just fine.
Okay, so this was 5-7 years ago. I get a message, hello, my name is Love Rainbow, and I was born on your dining room table. My mom's name, and Gail remembered this. The mom was Sunshine, so we invited Love for short, over for dinner, and then we had a friend, Merrick. Hey, Merrick, why don't you come over? And we did not know they had any connection whatsoever. And so we had dinner. It was a great dinner, and Love went back, and her mom sent out a picture. She said, I only have one picture from those days when you would hang out at the Mermaid Tavern, and she sent this picture. This is the picture with Merrick. Merrick Davidson, and that's Love Rainbow. What a coincidence is that, huh? And this is what Merrick looked like then, And we just had his memorial here not too long ago. Gail was so incredibly close to him. And restoration. Do you want to hear about that? It's 1989 Minnesota, it snows. This is the last time it snowed. I remember it snowing in the Palisades when I was a kid, but this was on the cactus out front. That was me with a neighbor's dog. Eucalyptus trees were everywhere, all along the side of the house. Look at this, boom, 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 boom. They were buckling the foundation. You can see there. We cut them down. Look inside here. That was the state of the foundation, and it gets worse. I'll show you some other pictures. This was the pool circa 1950. Remember, it went in 1940. And the cellars, it cracked. They couldn't fix it, wouldn't hold water. They filled it full of trash and filled it full of dirt. So I dug it out. And it was down at the bottom. It was black, smelly goo. This is my neighbor, Brandy, down the street. Yeah, he dug out the pool. There's the goo at the deep end. This is the crack. I hired a guy named Ben Beeler. He was a pool specialist. And he said, yep, his back's broken. So he had a student. He taught pool design. He goes all around the country teaching. He's a very learned pool person, specialist. And I was lucky to work with him. And one of his students actually worked a design up for our pool, went through the building department. This is a curtain of steel. And gunite, these guys were just amazing. They just sculpted this gunite with blades, and they cut in the round into the pool with just a tape measure. That's a tape measure they're holding out on a board, and they're describing the curve of the pool. I mean, these guys are artists. This is the pool shell before plaster and tile, and now this is that tile. I put every one of those pieces on myself. Rebecca Andrews, I got the tile from Rebecca. It's seconds, and that's what the pool looked like with the coping. I had coping made. We poured a slab, and so that was the pool. We had that done. Now I needed to address the foundation, but it started raining really bad. This is Sylvania. This is the front yard. Inside, it was just raining like crazy, and we were erecting these plastic catch devices. And this was the foundation, right under the front of they had a foundation across the front, 100-foot long foundation. This was the condition, no steel in it much. Didn't go into the dirt very far. And so I hired a soils engineer, Gary Masterman. He came in, and we did soils engineer, geology, did all the stuff we needed to go through the building department. It was like 10 different departments, fire, and on and on. Here's the foundation, the new gunite foundation. We went all the way around the house piecemeal, section at a time. And then when we got the house secured onto a foundation, then this is the condition of the inside of the walls. Yeah, it was in bad shape. We had to take out all the wood that was no good, put back new, strong wood, and then we had all these straps we needed to put in, hardware. Now this reclaimed lumber, I brought in, we cleaned it up, it came from, and we're putting it in a ceiling in there because all the wood had rotted out. It was gone. And this wood was like already 100 years old. I got it from Aldersgate. This was the ceiling of this porch that went all the way around it. And instead of they were going to throw it away. I thought, no, I'm going to take that wood. And we used it. This is what Aldersgate looked like after we restored it. Did a lot of work. It was $1 million restoration. The church paid for a lot of it, and family and friends. You know, it was a big push to get this. I spearheaded to get it through. Built our Buerge family chapel and meditation garden. If you see around the perimeter over there, there's redwood trees. Planted redwoods all the way around it. It was fun. I got a chance to design the landscaping, and this is the inside. It was all knotty pine and fir inside, and post and beam construction. This was a fun job for me to design the little stained glass windows based on biblical botany. So this was the flower window, and this was the fruit, grape, figs and window, olives, and there it is. This is what it looks like today. So these are what the redwood trees look like before it burned. Huge. I mean, when I put it in, they're 6 feet. Now they're 60 feet, maybe taller. They're all the way across the front. What's that?
Bill, when were the redwood trees planted? Because this reminds me of the redwood trees that were by Camp Casetta.
I put them in early 90s. And when I talked to the firefighters, I said, you know, we just learned that the chapel Mater is right next door to the Theater Palisades. It totally burned down. It was just like 20 feet away. On the other side of those trees is the Palisades Theater that burned to the ground. And yet this wood building survived. And the firefighter said it was because of the redwoods, because they resist fire. I said, you're kidding. He said, and I heard that again and again and again, that redwoods resist fire. So back to the Mermaid. Dumpsters load of debris was carried off. The fireplace could not be saved. I tried, I wanted to, but you can see that it was just structurally totally unsound. This is the way the back of the building looked after we took the fireplace down. And what was interesting, the fireplace then had this little hole over there on the bottom, and you would push all the ashes down it, and then every once in a while, you go down below, and there was a little door that you open, you pull the ashes out. It was like an ash dump, 10 foot tall, underneath that fireplace. Well, they never took the ashes out. I could tell because when we went down, I opened this up. Here was a business card from one of the salesmen of like the 1930s, with a note typed to a prospective buyer of one of the lots. Here it is, with all the walls opened, and that's the fireplace up there. This is, he was a
Back one so we could see the letters on it.
What year was this, Bill?
This was early 90s. I bought it first day of 1990, so this is probably 93.
Can you go back one slide, please?
That one?
What are those letters on?
Okay, the letters up there, it's a Kabbalistic inscription by Wallace Berman. He's a famous folk artist, and he was on the cover of the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club album, and I couldn't save that. We tried, but it just fell apart. It's like man, woman, house. It's 3 letters and Hebrew letters. It was a blessing on the house. He was friends of theirs. He died on his 50th birthday in a crash on Topanga Canyon Boulevard. Anyway, here's a new fireplace going in, and this is what it looked like during the restoration. The roofs, we had to get them all. I didn't know that I had to do this. I wanted to put really great Spanish roof tiles, but we had to re-engineer and repair all the roofs. So here's the roof going up over this room. And it wouldn't drain anymore because the building has shifted so much. The water would not run off like it was intended to. So we put a new roof up there and put scuppers in so the roof would drain correctly. And here they're putting down the roofing. I got these. I called up the Topanga State Architect's office. This guy answered. I told him about my project. And he came up here on the Saturday and talked to me. He said, hey, you know what? We just did Mission San Jose. We got a whole lot of roof tiles left over. And I went up there and I had him ship a big truckload of these down. These were handmade, 17 pounds each for the Mission San Jose. So that's what we have on the Mermaid. I still have a lot of them left over. Dan Lavery, our electrician, I'll never forget him. Here he is drilling holes to put in the electric. Bruce, carpenter, very fine finished carpenter. He did the stairs and the railings and the doorways and hung the doors. The back stairs could not be saved either. So we gunite this grand staircase. It actually is a buttress to the fireplace because that fireplace was 30 feet tall. And we made it through the Northridge earthquake just fine when, half the fireplaces fell over in town. They weren't reinforced. Here we are gunite. Do you remember Juan, the cook at Pat's? There he is. He was on the crew. And I actually got him the job at Pat's after he was done here. Here they are. We're gonna the way you string up wires, and then they put in the liquid concrete, and then they screed it with blades. And you can see the wires there. Here's the staircase looking down at it. Another staircase along the side of the building, a long wall by the pool, gunite in all on the same day. The dining room with the roof tile going on. Now, what does Diane Keaton and Sharon Stone have in common? Well, I was in such financial dire straits. I mean, I had to get rid of all the properties that I had because the 90s were so challenging. Everybody in real estate pretty much lost everything in the 90s. And that's not an exaggeration. I had to give away like a dozen houses that I had acquired. And I was barely able to hold on to Anyway, I put it on the market. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't get a loan. Sharon Stone come and looked at it. Diane Keaton, who loves these old Spanish houses, looked at it. Nobody made an offer. So I just talked to my men's group. They said, Bill, just go for it. So I just recommitted myself. And I found a loan, a hard money loan, $300,000, 10 points. That's $30,000 just to get, and 40% interest. None of that's an exaggeration. But ultimately, it ended up being a good business decision, actually, because it allowed me to plaster, pay for the plastering, pay for the drywall, to grade the front. This is a retired cop that did the plastering, great guy. We graded the front driveway. Ultimately, we got a certificate of occupancy, and here it is, certificate of occupancy. C of O, certificate of occupancy. I'm going too fast. So this is actually a feast here in the great room. The year I bought it. And this is a feast, 2005, in the great room. Here's another one much later, one of our weddings. The Mountain Mermaid, 1993. Here it is in 2003. Rancho, here's the great room in 1940, the great room in 1989, the great room in 1993 when I got my certificate of occupancy, great room in 2011. Here it is today, cleaned out for probably a yoga thing we have coming in. We've done every kind of yoga thing you can imagine here. And
Were these lights here?
no lights. No light. I don't have any light fixtures. There was just none here. They had all the original ones were gone. So it's been fun for me to collect light fixtures. I have 25 ones right here. I bought for $500. It was like this. I bought them in Pasadena when they were affordable, and we've used them a lot around the Mermaid. They're actually from the turn of the century, old gas lights. So here's the Mermaid. During Christmas time, the fireplace has been such a joy. And the dining room, 1989. Dining room, 2009. Here's the dining room, one of our potlucks. Or actually, I guess this was probably catered. So much food goes through this house. Kitchen, 89. Kitchen in 2011. Here's the kitchen today. People love the kitchen. I love the kitchen. We use the hell out of that kitchen. And bedroom 1989, bedroom 2009, bedroom today, 2025. We added a glass room. If you haven't seen that, it's all lit up. You ought to go see it. It's down through that hallway to the left. It's some old growth redwood columns on each corner with turn of the century industrial sash windows I got from Lance at Froggy's, an old workbench. We have a creek, man-made creek that goes right underneath it. We have a lot of water features. We have 30 water features here. That's one of them. And this is the back facade, 1989. Whoop! Back facade, 2004. Okay, I took some liberties with the color. I'm a painter, right? I gave myself that. It was so white and so stark, and this really warmed it up, and it looked great with the plants. And what allowed me to paint this whole building, actually it's faux finished with cement-based paint. And there's 8 heads in a duffel bag. This was a production company doing this movie. They just did Dumb and Dumber. They had so much money, and this was their first location. They spent a fortune, painted the whole house here. This is a scene from one of the scenes from the movie here in the great room. David Spade is there in the middle. Rihanna. Okay, the staircase that you saw, we've never really, we plastered the sides, but we left the stairs, just the raw gunite. And it's just a really favorite place for photography. Patio 1989, patio 2011. Here's a photo shoot I put together with a model, Mermaid, another photo shoot. The pool in 1990, the swimming pool 2010. Here it is today, photo shoot. This is L'Officiel magazine. Picture of the pool looking to the east. And this is the way it looked kind of from afar, a lot of different angles. And here we are today. And I got it listed early on. Remember I talked about David Cameron? We actually sat on the State Hill, the county, it was the County Historical Commission, whatever it's called. He was the head of it. And he was working on the side as a house historian. He said, hey, Bill, you ought to get it listed. So I said, okay. And he got all this research together. We submitted it. And he didn't vote. It had to go to Sacramento first. And then it came, once it was cleared, or maybe it went here first. I'm not sure which. But in order to get historic designation, it had to go to the county and it had to go to Sacramento.
Let's go back, because they spelled Topanga.
Get over it.
Fine with me, but.
There's definitely some spelling errors. Thank you. I'll fix that later. This was our butterfly house, which went in about 10 years ago. Sergio, are you here? Yes. Yay, Sergio. What you're looking at on this property, Sergio has done so much of it and so much you don't see. He worked for like 3 years putting pipes in the ground for our emergency system. I just have such a debt of gratitude to Sergio. Thank you, Sergio. And he manages the butterflies here, and the house is filled. If any of you want to come back tomorrow, come back. It's full of monarchs right now. There's 100 monarchs in there, and he's propagating all of those, Sergio. And it's been a real hotbed of education. And he's got a propagation area down below. Across the street, this was one of the sales office of the Sylvia Park Country Club. A little cottage I bought 25 years ago. It was falling over about 8 years ago, and we totally put a whole new foundation under it, rebuilt it. Here it is. We call it the Little Blue Bungalow, kitchen, big bathtub. We have a tree house down below. We've gone through and done a lot of work on all of our accommodations, bedrooms, little casita trailer. I saw that at the Pasadena flea market and bought it. Fell in love with it. And about every 10 years, the LA Times gives a call and comes up. This was right after I got historical designation. And the next day this came out, I get a knock at the front door. I go over to the front door over there, and there's this guy all dressed in a suit, real fancy, and he said, my mother was Sylvia. And it was Alan Patterson. Her name was actually Sylvia Patterson, and it was the son of Sylvia. And we just like hugged each other instantly. He said, I've never heard about this place. I never knew what it was. So he came, he's been back here to talk to our community. That was Alan Patterson, the son of Sylvia.
Is he still alive?
He was having health issues 10 years ago. I hope he is, because he's just a great guy. And this was a story back in 2017. A wedding just last April. This was a mermaid photo shoot I put together with plants. This was getting into some of the photo shoots. This is a shot in front of these gates we have out here that have been a real popular shooting area. Target, the dining room made up as a bedroom for some bedroom furniture. Elle magazine, Mila Jovovich is here for that shoot. I had this autopsy table. Gail actually put up with that. We had it in the kitchen for a while. What partner would put up with an autopsy table? How many partners? Thank you, Gail. Selma Hayek, the picture. This was actually in Premier magazine. And Calvin Klein, Sheryl Crow. This was shot down at the pool. She was here a couple days. And her boyfriend at the time was, who do you remember? Lance Armstrong. He would ride up here from downtown LA, wherever he's. And they had kids. Some of them had kids. And so he would come up and hang out with her. And this was a Vogue cover shoot, 28 pages inside. On Topanga Rose was the theme. That's Vogue's interpretation of a Topanga woman, okay? I think the model is Jessica Stam. And here she is dancing with a 12-year-old. And Lana Del Mar was here quite a while ago. And this was for a Spanish album that she was doing. She was up on the roof. And here she is with some flowers. This became the cover. Isn't that amazing? This was the cover with the roses. And here, they shot her out in the front yard. Here she is in the bedroom. And she had a little time. She was folding some of my laundry here. And Nat King Cole's daughter, Natalie Cole, she was so incredibly gracious, sweet. Again, it was a Spanish-themed album that she was doing. And this is in front of those gates, the Target gates. And here's a photo shoot. This monarch was just born the morning of the shoot. And I told the photographer, I said, I just got back from monarch school for a weekend up in Pacific Grove. And I learned how that they would work with monarchs as teaching aids for kids. And they would actually put drops of honey water, and the monarchs would hang around. And it was just a way that kids could get close to nature through monarchs. And let me tell you, kids love butterflies, just instinctively. Okay, here's me doing my monarch wrangling. Whoop! And the monarch flew away and she cried. First movie we did it was Speechless with Diane Keaton, Michael Keaton, Gina Davis, thank you. And then next best thing, 2010 with Madonna. Here she is in the great room. This is during her yoga period. And they made the fireplace into like an altar, and she had her personal mandalas on the wall in the back. And in the movie, she was a yoga teacher. And this was shot right over here on the floor. And if you Google Madonna yoga, this picture comes up. Billboard magazine, 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag with Joe Pesci, Man in the Moon with Jim Carrey, story of Anna Kaufman's life. Dido, how many of you know of Dido? Incredible musician out of England. Yeah, she came here and did a concert. Capitol Records booked the place. And it was a concert for 60 people, just for her fans. And fountains. We have, like I said, 30 water features. My mom actually bought me this one once. This is concrete. It's down by the pool. Here's one, Gladys McBean. This is a vase. Actually found this behind a neighbor's house up here. It's very collectible. It's been there for decades out in the front. This is...
Did you have to dig it out?
Yeah, it was half buried, partially buried right across the street. Tom Merchant had it, actually. Yeah, take it, sure. And most of our fountains, the majority of our fountains are these. You can see it right here. It's like horse or animal stock watering tanks you get at Pet and Feed stores. We use those and then we embellish them. Like this one actually has a willow tree going out of it. It just happened. And it's beautiful. It comes in every year and drops its leaves, comes back every year. And this is a picture out in front here of an old drainage ditch I put in the 30 years ago. I knew I wanted to have a stream across the front. We just took all the gravel out of it. It was buried subterranean grave to carry all the water away. And we took all the gravel out. Now the water comes out of that fountain in the back, and it goes into this, goes clear across the front of the property and ends up down in the glass room. The pool, water feature. Here's a French, relatively recent little French fountain, meandering pathways everywhere, all over the place, arches all over the place, light fixtures, love light fixtures. Down below, I've got hundreds of light fixtures in the basement, parts. A lot of them are parts. And this is a staircase and bouncers and gliders, furniture everywhere. This cast iron furniture made by, let's see, I forget now who made this. It was called the Fern Pattern. And we have quite a mermaid collection of paintings and tables and smalls and all kinds of things. This is our door knocker from Argentina. Beautiful piece. Love that mermaid. A graphic in one of the bedrooms. Here's this table right in here in the dining room with mermaids. I had painted mermaids as an illustrator long before I ever got the mermaid. I just love, it's such a great, I mean, look at that. The woman with the tail. I mean, it was just, what a great, mermaids exist throughout cultures all around the world. Every culture has mermaids. It's very prevalent. They really go deep into us, and I think it's actually probably because we were swimming around in an amniotic fluid and before we were born. So we've got a lot of, I've had more than one woman just swear to God, I'm a mermaid. And totally serious. Clocks are symbolic. Time is one of the things that mermaids are symbolic of, as well as ephemeral, a lot of things, beauty, hood ornaments. Got some great hood ornaments. Table lamps. This is a door thing. Thank you, doorstop. Bookends. Somebody gave me this. A planter, a cigarette, an ashtray, and mermaid table. Chandeliers. This chandelier is up in a great Art Deco piece. That's in the kitchen. And this was from a wedding shoot we did here. It was for a gown. It was a company that was, here's one of our brides, Lisa. And she had never been married before. She was 54, totally in love with David. Here they are, down by our new French fountain. And they had such beautiful pictures. They were so in love. And Lisa's been, if I ever want to sell a wedding, I just have a prospective bride call up Lisa. And here they are in the bathtub. Daya and Ishan. I grew up with Ishan, David Shapiro's son. What a great guy he is. I just love Ishan. This is his beautiful wife. And they did a peacock-themed wedding. Look at her hair. Isn't that gorgeous? Peacock dress. Ishan always has this smile. He's just, look at his socks. And they did the peacock thing throughout. Here they are again with all his best guys. Another one of David's son there on the right. That's Rama, right, David? Are you still here?
Yeah, that's Rama.
Okay. What's her name? Meredith Baxter. Yes. She'd been married more than once to guys, and then she thought, well, I'm going to try ladies, and fell in love with this woman, and this picture was on the cover of the New York Times, their wedding section, and she was lovely to work with. And retreats. We've been doing retreats here for all these 30 years. It's a great retreat space. Meredith is one of our chefs. Here they're doing the funny, shot here, and that's Meredith's food in the dining room table. Everybody act goofy? Okay. And this is a meditation area we have underneath an oak tree down below. We put this together recently. And for the past 35 years, every year we've done 2, 3, 4 community events. This is one of the first ones for Callon Speck. He was in a tragic automobile accident. I went to school with his dad, Tim Speck, and his sister helps here a lot, Ari Speck. His mom is one of Gail's best friends, Susie Speck. It's very incestuous up here.
Bill?
Yes.
I have the program from that event. I've been wondering what I should do with it.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I drew that, I hand drew that. Oh, okay, was it another program? Or Tim Specs? Yeah, we had Tim's memorial here. We laughed for 2 hours straight. You know, I don't like dreary memorials, so our memorials are very cool here. And this is a nonprofit organization called the Commerce Society. They do concerts in historic sites. We've been up here a bunch of times for these different concerts. These are all different things we've done for the Theatricum over the years. Spring Gala, Annette Benning, yeah, Susan Nisman and Ellen Gear, and at the right, Leslie Carlson. She had, one of her daughters was here. Benning's daughter was at the Theatricum, so she was our celebrity guest. Here's Gail and I celebrating Susan Nisman for some Mountain Mama. I made that plaque for her. And this was done for Children's Corner, Mermaid Tavern Revisited. We did a lot of things here for the Neighborhood Network. This is a coordinators meeting, neighborhood coordinators meeting. This is one of our Cheney Canyon Pancake Breakfasts from 1999. We did it here 1 year. Summer Swim Day, Eagle Scout Celebration. Yeah, I took off 4 months and had the opportunity to design the Topanga Disaster Survival Guide. They're still using this cover, my design. And
Remember when we had our meetings up in the Emergency Operations Center?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's still there. And so this is Ellie Acker with her kids. I wanted to make it fun because their graphics were just deadly. I wanted to make disaster interesting and introduce color and humor. I had Kedrick take a lot of really humorous pictures of him running out of the, away from fire and stuff like that. So it was 150, I wanted to make it big. It was color, full color. It was 156 pages. And now it's become the model for the whole county. And they've done a lot of adapting it. Jane Marla Robbins did a fundraiser here. She's a neighbor down the street. Neighbors Helping Neighbors. We've had many fire marshal, fire commanders, fire chiefs here just scare the bejesus out of the newcomers, talking about. But we've done a lot of work with the fire department. There's Gail, beautiful Gail, and Janice Harmon, yeah. And this was the U Rock Volunteer of the Year Award. That's a piece of the rock. You remember the rock that fell down on the boulevard? That's a piece of it. And we've done a lot of vision quests. We did one for Theatricum. We did one for, everybody comes in here from the organization. We spend a whole day together and we work with a specialist and figure out what the vision is. And memorials. So these are Elizabeth Dopner, Kevin's mom, Jerry Haig used to be the president of the society, Terry Valente, a lot of heavy, these are really prominent people here in Topanga, very dedicated citizens. Bonnie Wallace down there, I think we had 500 people show up for her. John Patterson, yes. There's John Patterson down there. Pearl Sloan from the Historical Society.
Terry used to have a trailer up off of like Loose Tank Road.
Uh-huh. She was a permit expediter, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was a expediter.
So Bonnie passed away in her classroom preparing for lessons, like on the weekend. And she had taught generations of Topangans. So many people loved Bonnie Wallace, very close friend of Gail's. My best friend Greg passed away a little over, not quite 2 years ago. And so I had the opportunity to be the art director. Usually I have my hands tied because the people are just booking the Mermaid. So for Greg's memorial, this was one side of the invitation or whatever, the announcement. This was the other side. And this, we had a lot of his photographs and paintings all around the world. That's him there and his wife, and I'm the guy in the back. I was his best man. We have a lot of his ceramics down in front, a lot of his pictures. Yeah, we were all pretty young at one time. We had about 75 people. He loved opera. We had 2 opera singers. This blew the roof off this place. We had a steel drum band, and everybody started dancing. It was not planned. It was all spontaneous. That's his wife, Betty, in the front. She's a dancer. There's a great picture over the fireplace. And then we've done a series with professors and specialists and naturalists. I forget his name. This was all in butterflies. We went out in the field. And this was not too long ago, earlier this year.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, you enjoyed that? Yeah.
And Lane cooked the dinner.
Lane was,
Yeah.
he cooked the dinner and he did the whole show. Sergio, this is Sergio. Says, I think that means chief or boss up there. And he really does have amazing energy. When I walk, I have to almost run when I'm walking with him. But he's got a real soft side as well. He's famous in Topanga as the butterfly whisperer. And Stevie and Sergio have both live on this property for almost 35 years, like 33, 34. And we work every day. Stevie actually works every day of the week, but he works other places a couple of those days. And it starts at 7 in the morning. Their work ethic is amazing. And I could not have done what you see here without these 2 guys. They're just so important to me. Here's Stevie. Here's Sergio is in charge of the nursery. I mean, it's really his nursery. He just uses the Mermaid property, and then he propagates all these plants. There he's working with his daughter and propagating these beautiful chrysalises, little butterflies. What kind of chrysalises, butterflies are those, Sergio? Pipevine swallowtails. Thank you, Gil, for being with me through this journey. Thank you, Gil. Oop. Another picture of Gail. One of our dogs. This is our latest dog, Scooch. And what happened to Calico? Okay, Calico would get up on her hind legs, and if she was here today, she'd come at the ladies. She'd walking. It's scary. So she would eat documents. It was just more than, I gave her back to the sellers the last time I saw Calico. She was being pushed in the back of a Volvo to drive up to the wine country. And the seller's Volvo. Looking forward every year to these flowers coming out. Matilla hot poppies.
So we're gonna get to see them. Aren't those awesome?
They don't get it. California landscaping plants does not get any better than Matilla hot poppies. They're easy, they spread. These were a couple chrysalises. They bought these, or Sergio found these, and we kept them around, and this Ceanothus silk moth emerged from them. And Butterfly Day started out as I had a bunch of neighbors. I got 100 milkweed plants. I mean, they were like 5-gallon milkweed plants. They were substantial size. We have 100 houses, invited all the neighbors over. About 50 of the neighbors took me up on it. And that started Butterfly Day. We did it the next year, and then Sergio started to sell his plants, and then it just kept growing, and the elementary school got involved, and until Butterfly Day, here we are taking some pictures with a bunch of, these are painted ladies. Sergio's gorgeous daughter here was our mascot one year, and this is Sergio's, where he sells plants. So Butterfly Day, we were selling plants. We got food in the front yard. We got a music festival. 1,500 people show up. 100 volunteers. Children's activities, face painting, butterflies. We had birds of prey flying last year. And then environmental and community partners all around the pool. Kids, like I said, love butterflies. And bees. I love this picture. Face painting's real popular. think I showed that picture, face painting. And the fire, okay. This was when the fire was marching down Topanga Canyon Boulevard. Sergio and I put on our fire gear. We have a pretty amazing, we have 16 big, each one covers a half-acre, sprinklers. We've got 2 safe rooms and miles of pipe that Sergio's put in the ground. And the fire, as soon as it got, okay, so it was marching down Topanga Canyon Boulevard. We were watching the smoke, big billowing black clouds of smoke, and then became white, okay, we're okay. And then another bunch of black smoke, the fire. We were watching this for hours, coming from the lumber store right over here to east of us, and with helicopters. Every minute coming from the mountaintop, putting out the fires. God, if we didn't have that.
That's Bruce Royer in the background?
That is Bruce Royer, he was here. So I told the firefighters, when they got into our neighborhood, I said, the Mermaid's going to be open 24/7. Well, coffee, tea, and then the whole neighborhood started to galvanize. Yeah, this is I respect. Neighbors were cooking, and everybody was bringing snacks. We had every kind of drink imaginable, beverages, and jerky. We had a whole jerky department. And that coffee and teas over there. And the first night we had 50 firefighters who had cut a perimeter around the Mermaid, and they were cutting perimeters all in this canyon, getting ready for the fire. And they came in here, it was like 11 o'clock at night. They were working in the dark. They were so tired. They were going to be sleeping outside. They just sat all around the room and stayed all night in here. And then every night after that, we had firefighters here. Neighbors started cooking for them, and
They've never been treated so
yeah, we heard that, but it was to me,
lovely.
it was to my benefit. Who doesn't want the fire, like half a dozen fire engines in your front yard from all over the western United States? They came. They're parked all in throughout our neighborhood and in the front yard of the Mermaid, and this is a 27-year veteran. He is in charge, this guy, I forget his name, of training all the firefighters. And here he is in the bunker, and he said, you know, I've got him on tape. He's on my Instagram page. That if there's a fire and I was here in this canyon, I'd want to be in this bunker. So that, I got a lot of validation for what Sergio and I have put together here, and Stevie, over the past 15, 20 years. This is Reese and Jen. Reese is an amazing cook. He was cooking breakfast and dinner, and the last day, actually, everybody left, all the firefighters left. 300 meals showed up from Wolfgang Puck, and Reese had dinner, and we sent them all up to the Palisades because they didn't quite have their thing together like we did. But Darius over here was huge part of this whole, he was driving back and forth. He didn't leave. We didn't leave. Most people left. Sergio and I are not going to leave. Gail left. She stayed up with Rebecca, right? In Ventura? Yep. Rebecca's here tonight. And so, and then following the fire, okay, so we were one of the hubs. There was the library. There was the end of 7th grade. There's that place up on top of Topanga. And shuttling food back and forth. It was just this amazing, thank you, Darius. Are you back there? Yes. And Darius is quite a force of nature and an amazing volunteer. And then after this, this is one of the meetings we had following up. There's a name for this. Maybe you remember what it is, Darius. Topanga Strong. And, wrong way. So all these years, and I felt it the first time I walked through that front door, this place undeniably has this, I call it incandescent ambiance, this energy that pervades the premises. Here's Scooch. I don't know if you can see Scooch down there. And there's a picture of our parking in the back and the butterfly house up front and the mountains in the back. Kind of interesting view. Looking toward the east, looking down from above, looking toward the sunset. And this is going to be the last photo. So that's it. Thank you.